Hello everyone. Morning here from Australia. Let me know if you can't hear or see me, but I trust everything's all right. You guys will let me know. And remember, if you'd like to ask a question, please make it stand out in the chat. Put the emojis or symbols or super chat your question just so I can actually see it. Sympathies to all my fellow Melburnians who are in lockdown, coming out of it. It's pouring rain at the moment. Those back pages just asked me how the weather was. Yeah, I preempted you. It's pouring rain. It started pouring last night and it hasn't stopped. I was planning to mow the lawn today. I guess that's not going to happen. I'll be going on a hike later with a friend of mine. He'll be coming just before sunset. Richard Raymond, always late. Yeah, I know. I'm just a couple of minutes late. I was trying to be on time. This time, no excuse is worthwhile. I know. I switch my camera on. I stream through my camera, not a webcam. That's why the image looks as good as it does. But I switched it on, and the video stream was flickering on and off and switching on and off, and then it just cut in and out. And I said, "Oh God, what's wrong?" And I thought there's something wrong with the cable. Kept switching it on and off. And then I remembered I used my camera to take some photos the other day, and it was in photo mode. So I needed to switch it into video mode. So anyway, first of all, problems. I hope everyone's all right. While you get your questions together and start putting them in the feed, remember, make them stand out. I will read a couple of noteworthy comments under the last video. Where a lot of women tend to get bored easily, yet they want commitment. And a couple of the comments were interesting. First one was by Battle Cow. He says, "I think this is the main reason why you see couples constantly arguing. They don't want the relationship to get boring, to go boring." That drama aspect, I've noticed. I always like things, calm and tranquil. The way you would hang out with any other person in your life, a family member or a good friend. Whereas it's always, not always. They say find the right person. It's not so much in the world that women don't possess the same innate attributes, and some exhibit it less than others, but it's like you wouldn't just be friends with anybody. I think particularly guys, because of our hormones, and we want women so much, we don't care about the standard. Simply having the woman, we're grateful. There's something about having a woman that makes men go, "Oh God, yes, I have a woman now. I'm part of this." Let me see if there's any questions. Those back pages. Phallic microphone today? No. I was going to put it on. I didn't have time. It's actually a better sound than this one. 4 streams. This is the normal everyday streaming mic and chat mic I use, which is my favorite. And thanks, Luke, for the super chat. Yeah, I didn't get time to set this baby up. It is pretty phallic, isn't it? It's a great microphone, though. For any of you guys who are into microphones, it's a really nice broadcast quality microphone, and it makes this sound a little bit more radio-like. Although this one's nicer, this one's smoother. but I've got a bit of compression set through Streamlabs to give me more of a radio feel anyway. And also I just woke up about 40 minutes ago, so I've got a bit of raspiness in my voice. So I've got a bit of natural compression. Christopher, what camera are you using, and do you have a resource you regularly use to research purchasing a camera? YouTube. I look at everyday people giving sort of opinions on the use of the camera they've gotten and the cameras they're speccing and stuff, which is good. I think that's why camera companies pay certain YouTubers to review cameras, because people trust them, an everyday person giving their honest review. You hope it's more honest. Well, it is more honest than a camera company doing a slick video and saying, look how great it is. Every camera company is going to do that. Remember, guys, if you've got questions, try and make them stand out. Otherwise, it just looks like a whole bunch. The stream just looks like a whole bunch of people chatting, which is great. Guys, chat away. But if you want to ask me a question specifically, there's no guarantee I'll be able to see it as I'm scrolling down. We've got about 138 viewers at the moment. So, just saying. Real names not given. The phrase friends with benefits, would there be a relationship without a benefit for both sides? I guess not, but the kind of one-way street of taking and not giving and expecting that this is all about you, or conversely for a lot of guys, they think it doesn't need to be about me. I get off on giving, which guys do. I think unconsciously we really feel good about lifting heavy things for others, helping people out, raising kids, protecting women, like helping people weaker than you, who need your protection, who need your bravery, all the attributes associated with a man. Not even so much what society or women expect, which is sort of unfair when you look at, you don't get it reciprocated. But in terms of what even between men we get off on when we play sport, victory, honor, winning, achieving, things like that, going further, using your strength, using your bravery, in adventure, in sport, in just so many things in life. So a lot of stuff we get off on through the foundational aspects of what men get off on naturally anyway. And if it used to be that others appreciated you, namely women and society. But now, I mean, for me, it's funny, like how long can society keep not giving men any reward, or not giving them, what's in it for me, at least a little bit. I've said it before, I think most men, including me, I was always happy with giving the majority of the effort and the doing in a relationship, as long as I got a little bit back, But if you're doing 99.9% and begrudgingly, you need to be grateful for that tiny percentage that you rarely get given. No. Like, it's been too many years now with the internet and the marriage rates going down and hookup culture increasing, men and women barely touching each other and then disappearing, like hooking up and getting out of there because it's just too dangerous and there's nothing really in it. Probably for both parties, but especially for men. Luke, thank you for the super chat. His question is, sell a relationship to me without putting sex on the table. Been divorced for 5 years and I fail to see the point. Me either. Have a look at my latest Instagram post. I posted, I was chatting with somebody and we were trying to figure out, all right, what are the things that solely men benefit from in the relationship? There's two circles. and on, where the circles kind of coincide, the mutual benefit for both parties, men and women. There's, sex, companionship, status, emotional support if you're lucky. On the women's side, where she solely benefits, there's a whole bunch of stuff we thought of. Like, everything's about her. She's never wrong. The script of the relationship is always by her. She gets chauffeured. Just the list goes on and on. Like, it could go on forever, but I think kind of we filled up that female side of the circle with about 20 items. We're still trying to figure out what men benefit from a relationship solely today. There's a lot of mutual things, not a lot, there's a couple of mutual things in the middle: sex, companionship, status, and if you're lucky, emotional support. Yeah, but aside from sex, need to remind yourself what you're missing from a woman. There's this unspoken thing when we look back on our exes and we say, look, I miss her. You don't miss her. Your biology is missing the proximity of a female. Because one thing that I smile at, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, who's been in a relationship where you always miss the last girlfriend for some reason. It's like, why don't I miss the one before her or the one before that? It's always the last one. It's your biology's quick reflex is to go to the last thing you can remember in terms of proximity, I think. Because there's nothing especially, you could argue time makes the one before the last one fade. Like the last one in your psyche is always more prominent than the one behind it. But why is the last one more prominent? Even if the last one was ostensibly worse and objectively worse. Yeah, it's dangerous for men to be in a relationship today. You have to pick very carefully, and it's a very hard thing because when you're with a woman, the thing that makes you feel good is your hormones. And it's very hard to go, I don't want to feel good. I'm going to resist that. I'm going to feel less good. And there's no reason why you shouldn't just allow yourself to feel good in front of the woman you're with. When you're on the first date, it's not like she's really doing anything bad unless, she's a nut job that you could see she's a psycho from a plane. But usually it's like there's no reason why you shouldn't just enjoy the feeling. And then the second date and the third date, and you go, okay, this is normality. Lock it in. I want to see what happens with this girl. But that's the point. You need not to be suspicious, but to try and wipe off, take sex off the table when you meet a girl. Take it off the table as much as you can. Just train yourself. Take it off the table. Treat her like someone you're catching up with, like a friend. Literally like a friend. Is this person a good friend? Are they a good person? It's really hard for a guy. Women, I think their biology goes, hang on a minute. Why should I sleep with this guy? That's a woman's default. A man's default is, why won't I? Give me a good reason why I shouldn't sleep with this woman. I want her. So the challenge for men is to engage the prefrontal when you're with women today. Again, not that women are, evil and you're a saint, but your hormones are leading you. Quasi-Mandias, morning or afternoon for you. So I'm wondering if you are questioning relationship or rather commitment, at least the commitment to reciprocity. Yes, that's a good way of putting it too. As I've mentioned before, and I think Quasi-Mandias would agree, everything in life is a relationship with things you do, with people and so forth. But the commitment aspect, sure, I think that's a refinement where the other thing needs to be consciously having a relationship with you, i.e. a commitment. Because you can have you have a relationship with everything in life, but most other things stay as they are. My front door stays my front door. It opens, it's predictable. There's a comfort in that. The comfort in predictability doesn't exist with another human being, less so with a woman. Also, even if she is a better person than a woman you've met previously, she has her biology, which may unconsciously, depending on her personality, character, and the way she's wired, may be leading her in less productive ways for the both of you. But I think commitment is a better refinement for relationship when you're talking about human beings. Sure, yeah. JM question, what do you think of Rollo and the like putting out all the downside of pursuing women, but still using women as a carrot to sell services? I think human beings, they learn, they avoid danger apophatically. And for those of you who don't know the words, I'm not being condescending, but it's not a normally used word. Apophatically is learning what is true by what you don't like, by the negative. Cataphatically is, the positive aspect, like what do I cataphatically want? What do I apophatically avoid? So I think as human beings, as being pattern recognition machines, as our brains like to be, we like to avoid danger by constantly describing what's dangerous about relationships and women. Basically, our brains are saying what's dangerous about the environment. And we're going, this is now dangerous about women. We need to be worried about this because of the laws attached to this. Until you really, really know a woman, you have to keep her at arm's length. But then again, how do you have a relationship if you keep anybody at arm's length? There needs to be a certain level of risk. You need to trust them to a certain extent. You need to have your wits about you. You need to have your prefrontal turned on, especially with relationships with the opposite sex, or the person the sexually desire. So I don't have a problem with those guys, Rollo, the Red Man Group, and all that, talking about the negative aspects of women and what to avoid. But there's little positive, and I'm not talking about instructional what you should do, but there's no philosophical, stoic, centered individual aspect of you talking about the world from your perspective. You in relation to the world, what you see, and then what you will do, what you will and won't choose. They do to some extent, but it's all centered around women. It's all centered around game. It's all centered around getting her success and all that kind of stuff, as far as I can see. And I see a lot of stuff in those groups where they're trying to outgame women. Women use a certain tactic, and so men will use a certain tactic now. Women, a woman, I've seen, I think I was watching, I haven't watched a lot of Rollo and the people, the circles he revolves around. But I've watched a couple of guys that I'm subscribed to that have commented on Rollo, like for instance, Batsfizz. He showed a clip of a couple of the Red Man guys they're always talking about their experiences with women. Like, I went out with this woman and she tried to do this. And I said, like, you're not getting any of my sex if you don't do this. I'm thinking we're starting to act like women now. It's like, you're not getting my sex until you do this for me. Until you lose weight, I'm not having sex with you. So I don't like the tit for tat aspect, the kind of, we're going to play women at their game, rather than I'm more interested in, from a masculine point of view, how you can be the better person for yourself, and not try and say, well, it'd be as the equivalent of the government's doing this that I don't respect, I'm going to do it back. If you can't beat them, join them. That aspect I'm not a big fan of. But a lot of Rollo's stuff and the people in that circle, they do mention a lot of really solid information. I can see why guys gravitate towards it, and there is a lot of good info in there. But the position from which their stance is always the dangers of women and gaming women to get women. Kind of, it always centers around that, rather than the philosophy, the psychology of things, like you at the center and then working your way out. It's always externally referenced. By externally, it's her and the environment, and then how you're going to react to it, rather than internally referenced from you and going outward, whether it's women, the world, and so forth. I hope that long-winded answer made some sense. Feral male. Society isn't aware in any real sense. By the time everyone realizes the damage being done, it will be way too late. Yeah, in a lot of ways, there's been damage already done. So it happens in bits and pieces. So it's already happening. Okay, now there's a few more questions. Better Man Channel. We cannot blame the downfall of women's morals if we are not willing to make a difference in young men and our future. Yes, I agree. But not so much, like, it's not blame as in, you can call out bad behavior. I think a lot of people now, when they think of the word, you blame women, it's like we're blaming them for everything. And so we relinquish any responsibility for ourselves as individual men. It's like, well, women are worse, so let's just all focus on them. Once they get their act together, then I'll start acting like a responsible male. No, you need to act like a responsible male for yourself now. Acknowledge when anyone is acting inappropriately or wrong in society, or they're toxic, like a lot of women are acting like today. But I think people sort of hear the word blaming women as in like, we'll blame them for everything. Don't get lazy, gentlemen. Don't get mentally lazy. It's easy to point fingers and never do anything to contribute to the betterment. Yep. Thomas asks, do you believe marriage breeds complacency? Is it the considered peak of being in a relationship? Once attained, individuals don't have to be the best version of themselves or as committed. That's a good metaphor. They've reached the peak of the relationship. But what else is there apart from the I do's at the altar? I mean, that's becoming less so a peak now, even among women, because women are really valuing their freedom today. But it'll take a few generations, or slowly, it'll need to sort of sink in the negative consequences, because times have been too abundant and too easy. And there have been so many concessions and excuses for, in society, whatever bad behavior is exhibited by whatever group of people tends to be curbed, because it's not just no good for society, it can't be sustained. Women's for a long time, I don't know why, I think it's they see it as a necessary loss for the future gain of women contributing more as taxpayers. And so, okay, we'll break the family down. It'll take a few generations. Yeah, we'll keep making bad movies like Female Ghostbusters. But we just need to get women to be, over generations, to be sort of conditioned to think that now they can contribute more. So I think the system's wanting, as hard as they can, women over generations to sort of shed a lot of their old patterns. Unfortunately, a lot of the old patterns are in relation to men, the way we cooperate. They don't care about the future of the species, only because we're so overpopulated. So we could do with culling, given the size of the planet. So they're thinking at this point in time, this is my hypothesis, we can do with relationships dissolving. I mean, it's no good for us individually living our lives, like in the pocket of our lives where we rarely, if ever, we're not going to know the lifelong partner, the family, because it's so hard to get along, because there's so many cookies laid out for us, and we're kept as children to stay individual, to keep chasing the oasis, the mirage. Sorry, but yeah, relationship historically and always, it's seen as the top of the peak. The highest thing you can achieve in terms of relationship intimacy and things like that. And in a lot of ways, I can see the appeal, and in a lot of ways, it is. You can't go beyond it. If you've got a great person you trust, you love her, you have kids, I mean, what more do you want? I mean, even though I've never had it, I've never experienced it, because I've never wanted it, never wanted children, but I've never been with a woman long enough where it's consistently good that I can even entertain in the future that, like, you know, in 5 or 10 years, if she really wanted marriage, because at that point I'd really sort of trust her. Like, I wouldn't even get to the point after years and up to a decade and thinking, like, you know, there's nothing I wouldn't do for this person because this person's proven themselves to me. You can't even get to that point. But I can see when I look at guys who do have a good marriage, I can see relationally and sort of the biological stuff that's hard to put in words, what they get from it. Like, they've achieved so much. Just take a look on YouTube. I know it's a celebrity, but take a look on YouTube, Chris Hemsworth and his family and how much he's enjoying his life. You can actually see what a man can get out of having a family where he's really confident in control. Yes, I know he's a multimillionaire. Like, take that factor out of it. But, you know, you can argue you have to be a multimillionaire Thor to actually have a happy life where you have security and family. But you can actually see when you look at men who do get a lot out of family and they're lucky enough to have found a good woman, it's time and effort as well. How much of your life do you have to chase women? And when all the women resemble the last one that you couldn't get along with to various degrees, then, you know, do you get to a point where you say, well, these are the women that are out there. This is what I have to choose from. I'll just take what I'm given. I'll make the best. I'll pick the. It's like voting for politicians, which is the lesser of the evils. And so you go out there dating and trying to pick the best hypergamous female-natured woman you can find that you don't particularly want to. But yeah, if you want kids, what can you do? I've never been able to. Okay, questions. I mean, one of the things people ask about, sort of, you know, all women are crazy or all guys are crazy from women I hear. And then when you talk to them, this is the interesting thing. You talk to, like, I'll talk about women because I've talked more with women, especially when I've dated women, because I've been interested in, like, their past. What were their relationships like? I am later now in life talking more with guys in my personal life about their experiences, but over the broader sense, a good calibrating factor for yourself to be try and be a bit more objective is you can't just always say all women are the same. If you can honestly kind of look back and say, okay, the first woman I dated, she exhibited these characteristics. Say she was narcissistic, or she was, you know, bipolar, or whatever. Like, even if you don't categorize it, she was a fairly labile. She, you know, had a bad temper, say. Let's pick that. You know, my first girlfriend, like, what really kind of stood out that was really traumatizing, and I really couldn't get along with, was her anger. She was really angry. Then the next person, you avoid that, and then you avoid something else later on. But if you're always going with exactly the same person, you don't care about their personality, it's unfair to say all women are the same if you're choosing exactly the same women. The challenge is that women tend to be passive and don't show their real selves as much as men need to get anywhere with women. Otherwise, you won't get that second, third date, or you won't make her, you know, trust you to a certain degree where she can open up. Unfortunately, that's a dynamic with men and women. But a lot of women, and I'd say most women, aren't as honest in terms of their personality, how they express themselves, even the negative sides like impatience, anger, their little picadillos and idiosyncrasies. They don't let them out. They play nice. They're on the job interview for a long time until they know they've locked you in. Until some guy in the comments section of one of my recent videos described a New Yorker cartoon where the woman's, after being married, they're walking down from the aisle and they're throwing confetti. You know, they've just been married, and the woman's got a wry smile on her face and a thought balloon saying, "Now I can be a bitch." If you are to date, the thing men need to do is really, really be conscious of the personality of the person you're getting along with, or starting to get along with, or starting to like. Just because of the different way men and women operate generally, but also during courting and dating. Hey Joe 212, in my 40s, relationship with women means temporary. I think both sides think there is no longevity in modern times. Do you think long-term relationships are dead or rare? Yes, I do think they're very rare, but you need to be very honest with women. If you don't like hooking up, don't hook up. Or if you're meeting women casually, just say, look, I'm ultimately looking for something serious. And so you let them know that if you like me, you better be serious too. Look, this is the tricky thing. I would suggest, if you're tired of this game, just say no to the hooking up, because it's too easy to go, I'll keep hooking up until I find the right person. But the longer you're in that mode, and both of you are, you're always looking for the first excuse that you have a speed bump, that you might, one person is late meeting up, or says something you don't like, or the first disagreement, and it's like, I'll go back on Tinder, or I'll go. It's too easy to throw away people like bus tickets. Pench says, your last girlfriend, this is when I was talking about why is she always the one that you think about the most, or in your lonely moments you miss her the most. He says, your last girlfriend feels the best because it's the woman you picked based upon the sum of your experience with previous relationships. Yes, but it made me think, your comment made me think of something, because I thought you were going to say something else. I agree, but I think it's also your last girlfriend may actually be more in tune with who you are. So if you're I've been accused of not thinking of the future very much and not being too neurotic about the past. I'm not perfect, but I tend to sort of stay in my current world, the current day, the current week. I don't lament the past too much. It does sneak in every now and then, but I think your comment made me think of something. Do we miss the last one so much? Not the one before her, because it's so close to our current morals and values and our current selves. So it's more about who we are, and she was the closest one in relation to who we are really now. So missing her feels more real than missing the one bit prior to her in some way. I'm just spitballing that in my own head. Anyway, might be nutrition for another video. Finn, we love the thrill of having sex with women we don't really know. Yes and no. I've never liked one-night stands for the reason that I don't feel comfortable with a complete stranger. But I know the biological impulse of, there's somebody new. Daniel, I'd love to have a relationship with a woman, but I'm in my 40s. How can I find a woman that isn't a single mother? That's a challenge. Look, my last ex was in her 40s too. She wasn't a single mother, but still didn't work out. Sometimes we have our own, if it's not kids, it might be our own personalities. Like I said in a few videos before, like you become very much cemented as a person who's cemented in their own ways. I'm very particular now in who I am. And so is another person, even if she doesn't have children. So it's very hard, even if they don't have kids, for you to meet a woman, let alone a woman that's specifically like you. When you're in your 20s, you barely have developed knowing who you are. that usually happens towards your 30s, although it's happening earlier on, I think, because people are marrying less and less, so they're kind of forced to in the world. You feel more and more alone, younger and younger now, because of family breakups and, you know, men sort of being forced to be on their own more and more. So you're forced to look at those existential questions. But yeah, it's very hard as you get older, because you need someone very particular, and you put on top of that that you're less hormonally driven, so you want it less. So it becomes more and more of I can take it or leave it. It'd be nice to have. It's the dessert, but I don't really need dessert anymore. The meal is my life. Whereas when you're younger, a woman is, you know, the meal, dessert, she's everything. Yeah, I think relationships, the way I knew them, they're pretty much dead or laughable. Even Stephen here says relationships today, ha ha ha. You have to be dumb to do that. I think that, yeah, you look at the youngsters, not what they say, but what they do. Having an old-fashioned, not old-fashioned as in horse and carriage, but just old-fashioned in terms of like the 80s, 90s, very early 2000s. Those relationships are kind of, they are considered old-fashioned now, the way we used to relate. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, make them stand out. I'm just skimming down because we've got a few people. We've got 315 viewers on, 12 viewers on. Better Man channel, relationships are what we make it. Yep, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think I mentioned this in a past video. Gin Bottle here mentioned, and in work, treat them as a competitor. Unfortunately, yeah, that's another aspect. We're competing with women. We see them as competitors in the workplace, where, you know, we spend so much time at work now. That separation of men and women, you know, work environment and home environment, it was much easier because the personal environment, men and women used to treat each other more sympathetically, more caringly, more lovingly. But now when you're with women, you know, for 70 to 80% of the week at the office, and it's competition, and it's snide remarks, and it's trying to put the boot on each other's neck and not understanding each other because at base you're very different biological entities. Yeah, it's just making it very, very important. Like, how can you trust someone you compete with all the time? In public, the message is there is a competition, there's a mistrust. You know, the two competing businesses are always at each other. It's Apple versus PC. It's Pepsi versus Coke all the time. See, another comment from my last video was from the Kangaroo Boxer. Everyone likes opening a gift more than using it for the second time. That was an interesting metaphor. I agree, you know, where women get bored easily, typically, more than men. Yeah, you enjoy the present, opening it more than the first time. You enjoy the first time more than the second time. I'm guessing that's a similar reason why women love shopping week to week, you know. That one week it'll be, I just want those pair of shoes. I swear if I get them, I'll be happy. They buy them. And next week, that pair of shoes is like, yeah, I'm glad I have them, but I want another one. Which is another reason why they prefer women in control, economically, kind of out there financially, like to lubricate the system. There's more frequency of women shopping. A man will save up for years for that car he wants, and then he'll be very happy from then on, or it might be many years before he'll get another car. But a woman's monkey branching brain, shopping brain, likes the frequency over and over again, the dopamine hit, whereas a man can kind of curb that impulse and defer gratification. And that discipline does not do well to lubricate the financial system. A man that saves, a man that's very careful, he only needs one pair of dress shoes, maybe one or two pair of sneakers, one pair of jeans. No, we don't want that guy. We want someone who buys 10 pairs of jeans, 50 pairs of shoes, a lot of suits. One car, if we can't get you to buy multiple cars, we'll get you to buy a car and turn it over year after year after year, frequently, even if you lose money. So the new, I think, is more enticing to the female. I'm talking from an economic standpoint. They know women's psychology very well, even though they pretend that it's got nothing to do with it. I mean, I've noticed it here in Melbourne. The times I do watch television, when I drop over and see my mother, I'll point out, I'll say, have a look at every segment when they're showing, they show a car accident or something's happened or they get an expert on screen. It's always a female scientist. There's an accident or a crime, a female police officer. They always put the face of a female forward as the expert, as the authority, to get men sort of in a more docile effect, kind of accepting that. Women trust women more. Keep pushing the female archetype to the forefront. Men are fairly invisible at the moment. Red Rubus, don't think with your... As in, don't think with your hormones. Yeah, that's a challenge. Can you, in a disciplined way as a guy, if you do go on a date, be conscious and going, all right, I'm not going to be led by my biology. I'm not going to be led by my biology. I'm not going to be led by my biology. Very hard thing to do, but very worthwhile. What the Sithizist says, what's dangerous is a sexless relationship. Yeah, I would say, in my experience, whenever the sex changes, goes downhill, especially the intimacy, and let's not be shy about this, whether it's sex, a hand around your shoulder, a kiss on the cheek, a show of affection. When you notice that it's starting to change, you're getting less of it, you could see a distance between you and her. You're aware of it and you're trying and the other person isn't. Usually sex is the last thing to go. When that goes, it's finished. The relationship has been dead, but you just haven't realized it for a while. It's happened to me once or twice. Jose, thank you for the super chat. Daniel, sex and companionship is what I'm seeking from a girlfriend. Yeah, largely me. My last ex actually asked me, when we've been going out for 6 months, she said, what's a relationship to you, or what's commitment to you? Or no, I think it was what's a relationship to you? And I said friendship first and sex, those two things. And she thought it was a very cold answer, but I said, look, I'm just being very as basic as I can. But those are very important foundations to me, but friendship especially, someone I can trust. But again, you take away the sex, you might as well just have friends. Having an intimate, romantic, sexual relationship with a woman, if it doesn't involve that physical aspect, that's what makes the kind of stability very different to a friendship. It's the reason why I can't get what I get from a woman from my best friend who's a male. I just can't, by dint of my heterosexuality. I wish I was more like Jack Donovan, but alas, I am not. It would be a lot easier. Although, as I'm getting older, it's getting easier because the desire's less and less. I have much more of a take it or leave it attitude with women than I did. Before I had to fight it. It was a larger conscious effort to sort of sidestep bear traps and still be responsible for myself. Thomas, do you believe marriage breeds complacency? Yeah, I've already answered that. I think you just repeated the question. William, huge shock human. Elevated PSA count in June ended with radical prostate surgery. Get your PSA levels checked, gentlemen. The ultimate MGTOW act. No more intimacy. As in vasectomy, or you can't have actual children anymore after surgery. Yeah. It'll take a lot of things off the table. It probably can help too when you know a woman can't get, accuse you of although I think those surgeries as well, chemically, like they reduce the desire for sex as well. It's not just you can't actually get a woman pregnant. You don't actually even feel like having sex anymore. Black Hydra, how old is everyone? I'm 16. Am I the youngest? I think so. Feral male, if pain is our best teacher, the stove is hot, then why do we forget the painful relationship so quick? Or is that just me? No, look, there's, you can't just, you learn from either mistakes or failure. They're not real failures. They're all learning points. If you don't learn, you think you can do better or refine it next time. But if you reflect and you can see something that you did wrong that really contributed, that was possibly the reason that it didn't work with a person or friend or something in the past, then you can approach it again. But if no matter what you do, it always ends badly, then that's a different thing. But I think there's a sense of adventure as well. But, you have to judge on the situation. Are you being reckless and insane? Or are you just trying to, in a refined way, do it better this time? Do it with your eyes open. Do the next thing more morally and ethically, whereas before you did it in a more drunk-like, youthful, hormonal way. So depending on the situation, it's not so much the stove is hot and we like touching hot stoves, but then sometimes it is the way we approach things. If we're always charging in at 100 miles per hour, and then statistically, if you approach anything in life that way, almost every time you're going to go crashing into a wall and get hurt. It might be the speed at which you approach things. It might not actually be that the stove is hot. Whoa. Sorry guys, it really jumped. Oh. Where was I? See, I usually highlight things and then I can jump back, but it jumped to such a degree. Oh, great. I don't want to jump too far because there might be people that I didn't answer their questions. Sorry guys, it's really jumped now. So if I miss any questions, there's a limit to which I can go back now. It doesn't let me go back any further. Sorry. All right, what have I got now? Thank you to guys who super chatted, but it won't let me go past a certain point to go back. So I'll read what's here now. Mr. Highway, his super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I don't think it's a dirty word. It's just antiquated. It's like a cursive writing. My title is relationship a dirty word. It's like cursive writing. Only our grandparents know how to do it. Long time no see, human. Hey, Mr. Highway. Yeah. I would always suggest, guys, it doesn't mean because it's old we need to, there's this continual push to move forward, but don't forget some of the stuff that we consider old was developed over thousands of years up until a generation or two ago. You know, the internet only came around in the mid 90s, I think. Social media only kind of came around in around 2005 or 8, somewhere around there, early 2000s. So it's fairly young. Our attention span, our minds are like quickly turning over and thinking of everything is really long. But I remember when I was growing up, time was broader, you know. We've got such a contracted version of time now, and we learn less. We have less of a foundation because we know very little. Whereas because we learnt and we were mentored from our, you know, ancestors, and we didn't throw books away figuratively. We didn't say, oh, well, the old ways are patriarchal or useless because I've got my iPhone now. I've got Google. I don't need to know anything that, you know, my parents or grandparents did. I think that there's a mistake in that. It is like cursive writing. Our parents knew how to do it, but you can still do it in your way. But what can you learn? You know, think about it today. What am I going to learn from a generation of people, whether it's my age, younger, older, if we're all now just kind of cycling the current news and we're not looking at, you know, learning from people's mistakes or victories in the past, reading great books, learning things that we would never come to any kind of insight, but we can because there was, you know, an author that spent their whole lives and one book that really can resonate and kind of clarify your path, rather than just talking to a whole bunch of pedestrians online and kind of going, what do you think? I think this. Oh yeah, women are like this. History can teach us a lot. There are some great guys who observe female nature better than we could ever put it together. And they've eloquently put it together in a lot of their writings and books. And people just don't want to look at it because they think, oh, ink on paper, LOL. Look, it's a reason why a lot of us old guys can speak and write better. It's not magic. There's something in the past that can refine a lot of us acting childishly now. Like the way we speak, people's lexicon is really shallow. They don't spell, their grammar's awful. The way they speak, they fumble a lot. So a lot of the past, I think, including relationships, I'd say to sort of the modern generation, don't get too smug. Just because you're young, I know the impulse is to think that you don't need anybody and, you know, you're rebellious, but you can actually have a step up from your friends. You can have a step up in terms of your confidence and security to learn from the past, to learn from mentors, older people, to learn from history. Armored Ghost, what is the natural state of love, if there is one? Trust? Yeah, it's kind of like I think commercially they like to paint love as like a roaring bonfire, like an out of control forest fire. But I'd say love for a guy is sort of more an ambient warmth, like a trusting thing that stands the test of time. You know, something from which you can actually build a foundation. I said in an old video, I think conceptually, love for man resembles a tree, and love for women today resembles a Christmas tree. Remember, highlight your questions. People, let's see another comment from the last video. Women get bored easily, but still want commitment. Ron Summers says, what I find annoying is the assumption that they have to be entertained and it's someone else's job to do that. Yeah. I want a man who makes me laugh. Why? I'd say pay attention. When the woman, one of her primary things is she wants a man to make her laugh. Usually, in my experience from what I've read, both in psychoanalytic literature, as well as just generally, in my experience, is someone whose real main thing is, I want a man to make me laugh, they tend to be either sad or depressive person inside. They need to be made to laugh. They may not like being alone. They need you to be responsible for the happiness in their lives. Be very, very suspicious about people that always go on about that, especially if you're dating women. You know, their number one thing is a man who makes them laugh. Might just be a sad person. And do you want to be with that kind of person? Not always the case, but focusing and trying to find out why they have such a need for that. Question, you said we should keep women at arm's length until we get to know them. At what point, in your opinion, has a woman earned the right to come closer at arm's length? Depends on you, man. Depends on whether you want children, marriage, moving in with them, what you're fine with. You don't need marriage. You don't want them moving in with you. You're fine with having living in separate places. But I'd say if you want anything where you're going to move in, if you really want to have children, I'd say years and years. A friend on Discord mentioned Igor. He said his standard is minimum 6 years before he even sort of thinks of, I think, moving in with her. And I'd say things like that, a lot of years, because a woman doesn't like to waste time and her nature's always moving. If you get along with her over 5 or 6 years, you don't really have any blowouts. You get along like a house on fire. You fit together like hand in glove. And there's no real reason after that many years that you can't take a step forward, whatever that step is for you. I'm not saying you should, but if you know you want that, her investment of time with you. And if she keeps nagging, you know that she doesn't want to wait. The longer she can invest time in you and you enjoy being with her and it's never a problem, the better chance you have, I'd say. Hasn't happened to me. And I'm not a big dating fan. I'd rather be in a relationship or be single than continually spinning plates. Highlight your questions, people. Spec Ops, human has the hope strategy. Not hope. I'm not pretending that women are something they're not, but I do want to make the most of my life, and my life's not complicated. But again, what do? I'm not saying I've ever wanted marriage or moving in with anyone, but it's not so much hope. It's saying, okay, these are my standards. And if a woman doesn't meet up to them, which my standards are pretty much like what a best friend would be, a person. Look, I haven't moved in with best friends. I haven't really and as you get older, it's harder. So, like, really, like the chances of me meeting someone, the last woman I'll ever be with, is either kind of going to come from my hormones, which I already feel. It doesn't really matter if I'm single or with a woman at that point. I don't really have a desire. But if I do, I can barely think of any male friends that I'd want to live with 24/7. One of my best friends I could, but he's married. He's got kids, and I've known him since childhood. But other than that, the being able to sort of say you date a woman, it's not hope. It's like if you've had a female that's a best friend and you're in a relationship with you're having sex and so forth, and it's going well, and you could say, yeah, I spend all the time with her. She sleeps over all the time, and I just want to spend more and more time with her. What's the likelihood of that? It's not hope. It's kind of observing the reality that's in front of you. And the reality I've had is that no woman's approached that. And it's not that my standards are very high, not that I see. I think that for me, it's just that they can't meet the basic standards that I'd expect from a best friend. And even best friends I have, there's not many that I'd want to live with. So yeah, a lot of it might be my problem too. They are to live with, and I probably am now as well. None of your businesses. Telling a woman who is hypergamous by nature that I am looking for something serious solves nothing. She won't even take the comment seriously, given her nature. Yeah. If the individual's not introspective and self-reflective, they don't care what you say. They just see what they want. Crow says, do you find women will hide the relationship status more, like still say single on Facebook and have no pics of the guy on social media until they have to or do it to play the market? I don't know. Comment from my video, why relationships are harder with age. John A says, C.S. Lewis makes a compelling contrast between friendship and eros. Friendship is free from entanglements, judgments, and specific roles. Yes, we don't care about our friends' affairs, private life, even their physical appearance. This is important. A relationship, however, based on friendship can only be lukewarm, whereas a relationship based exclusively on pheromones is necessarily rocky but rewarding. This is a challenge. What a friendship is calibrated by is very different. So, like a woman that you're going to choose above all others and want to sleep with, you care about how she looks. You care about, what was it? Private affairs, physical appearance, all those sort of things. But with a friend, that's the beauty. That's the ability of allowing yourself to be more you and more vulnerable and trusting of your friend. It's hard. We used to have social structures in place that made it, at least, if not easier, there were boundaries that you couldn't go that far beyond, that you could completely ruin another person's life. It would take a lot. So the commitment would be something that you take very, very seriously. The commitment's not taken seriously. We turn people over as fast as we turn cars over, as fast as we move into one house, and then we just move somewhere else. We take one job, we take another job. Our society is geared towards frequency. I mean, I was talking with someone who's involved in HR and recruiting people for jobs, and they actually say, I've heard it many times, the recruiters, if they see that you've been in a job for more than a couple of years, they look at it negatively. That, oh, this person doesn't have ambition. Whereas I would say, oh, this person's been at a company for 5 or 8 years. This person doesn't jump ship. This person's loyal. This person's committed. No. Companies see it as like, oh, this person doesn't have motivation. This person doesn't keep moving forward. Everything today is geared away from long-term commitment, unfortunately. And maybe this is a teething process in terms of our society, that we have to learn to harden up, which I think will is probably going to have, and you actually see it with the amount of therapeutic drugs given to women more than it's given to men. Women are starting to feel it now. A lot. They don't talk about it because women don't want to be shamed by other women in public. They all want to put on this great face of makeup and perfect teeth and I'm great, girl power. But then when you're alone at home with your tub of ice cream, we've been going for about an hour now, guys. Keep the questions coming. We'll start heading towards the home stretch. Is courting now a defunct word? Yeah, I'm probably showing either my age or my love of literature. But again, like for the guys that follow my work and see some value in it and ask me, you know, how can I, you know, I'd like to sort of at least speak a bit more confidently like you, human or whatever. It's because I see value in literature, in old things, in history, in what I can learn from, you know, you look at black and white movies or writers or older guys, you think, I just kind of look at their stability. Look how confident they are in terms of like women compared to the younger generation. Like, I want some of that. You start talking to them and then they start telling you their ethics and values. You think like, where did you get that from? And then you start finding literature and things that they were informed by, the ideas that they were informed by. Don't throw away the past, guys, because if all you got to learn from is this present is a complete go. Edison, what do you mean with dirty word? I just put a temporary title for today's video, is relationship a dirty word? Just talking around that. I mean, relationship tends to be, I always broaden it. Like I see me having a relationship with everything in my life, whether it's people, women, my videos, the things that I value, but generally people think relationship just means a romantic one. But in terms of is it a dirty word, I think people now just flip partners, spin plates, have temporary hookups. So relationship tended to, and I think still tends to mean like a committed long-term relationship. So I think now that exclusivity of a long-term committed relationship tends to be a dirty word, as in it's laughable. People will make fun of you. Other guys will make fun of you, especially on the manosphere. It's like, ha, you're committed to a woman. You're a moron. She's going to leave you. You're wasting your time. You could be out there having fun, having your freedom, going your own way and spinning plates. She's going to leave you anyway. Women are told something similar, like, you know, have your career, have your freedom, don't be locked down by marriage. You know, being in the kitchen, being in a home is a prison, blah, 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 yada, yada. A child will restrict you. You should have your sexual freedom, etc., etc. So that dirty word of relationship today, I think is seen as really limiting yourself. Although I think for most people, relationships should be looked at differently because most people aren't built for freedom. Wet Palette Warrior, you can't trust a woman on her word during a date. They can make up their own history to sugarcoat it. Actions speak louder than words. Yes, yes. Yeah, you can always say both parties can lie, but I think with a guy, unless he's very good at BSing and he's a bit of a sociopath and he can kind of just make up stories, the only way you're going to get a woman to kind of like you is letting some of you out. And so men tend to be honest, and since men have to be the ones who ask and talk, be funny, and a woman can sort of get through a few dates by being almost silent and saying nothing. and a man saying like, you know, I just like being around her for some reason. She doesn't talk much. She's a bit shy, but we're exclusive now. It's like, well, if she's a bit shy, how much has she revealed about herself? Oh, well, at least she's no loudmouth bimbo. Very different between men and women on first dates, and I agree. A woman can make up a lot and say anything. Remember, women sometimes, without even knowing it, they use words not for what they are, but how they can make her or you feel. Words are used as emotional tools, not as the meaning of what they actually are. So when I talk, I'm trying to use words to be specific to what I'm trying to communicate, the idea. Women will say words and make these sounds in the form of words a lot of times, especially on dates, to feel a certain way, to stay interested, to keep you interested, to keep it lighthearted, to have a laugh happen between you and things like that. So words aren't as specific with their meaning in real-time conversations. Generally speaking. Minx, as expected, a lot of people don't know how to love. You all know how to assume and destroy others, and that is exactly why the world is ending. Good luck with your non-existent compassion, understanding. I'm assuming Minx is a female. Okay, Minx. Look, you can't discount people's experience too. Look, whatever you think of me, I try to be honest, but don't try and sort of... I judge women when I'm dates because I want them to be who they are and to be responsible, because that's the only kind of person that I've got the ability to kind of trust. But I can't just go in having relationships with people, whether it's jobs or friends, and saying I don't care what their values are and standards, who they are as people. I just need to be always trusting, always trusting, always trusting without standard. It's a good way to be walked all over, especially the way the world is today. Yeah, a lot of people don't know how to love, but I would say love, especially from a male's point of view, needs to up its game in terms of discipline. So men are trying to, through these conversations, love very pragmatically now, because women have been for a while. Men go in there like boys, trusting. You know, I want to be loved, I'll do anything, and, you know, she'll see how nice of a guy I am. It works less and less today, especially in today's hookup culture where people just like flip people from one day to the next. Promises are broken. People say whatever they need to do, need to say to get the person into bed, and they just keep moving forward because they don't want to commit or they're really afraid. And they don't know who they are, so they just keep having fun. And all of a sudden you get to your 50s and 60s and you're still having fun like you were in your teens and 20s. You can shame all you like. But I'd also look at the way women are using Tinder and social media. Women are the ones in charge of the access to sex. Look at the way they're using it. They're using it like a candy store. Men are just following what women are offering. If women respected their bodies, men would... if women respected their bodies more and wouldn't just be out there sexually liberated and just experiencing a lot until they're ready to settle down someday, supposedly... then men wouldn't be having fun as well. If women sort of said, no, I'm not going to hook up. I'm not going to play around. I'm going to really not sleep around. I'm going to wait for the right guy. You wouldn't have this world as well. So kind of annoys me when women say, you know, it's men. Men don't know how to love. That's why the world's this way. Such a relinquishing aspect of today's world. If you look at women really running the show in terms of the scripted relationships, they're all online, they're all hooking up. If you look at the stats on Tinder, how many likes they get, how women can actually now have separate lives. They can, in front of their friends, not even be honest about hooking up. There's so many. I've actually been on a number of dates where I didn't know the woman was married. On her profile, she says, I'm separated, where she's out cheating behind her husband's back. You weren't able to do that before because the social circle, you'd only be around the people who knew each other. And if you started hooking up with someone that someone else knew, it'd be very obvious. Too many people can hide now. Women are in control of sex, and the sexual environment now is hook up. If women aren't hooking up, it's not going to be pump and dump. If women are making this environment the way it is, women need to sort of curb their impulses at the candy store, because men will gorge themselves with the candy that women are offering. If women aren't offering the candy, men will need to modify themselves. Remember, what are men hooking up with if it's not with an abundance of women willing to hook up? Mr. Highway, thank you for the super chat. He says, do you think men will be able to tame their biologies? After taming my sex drive, I'm far more responsible. Congrats on the channel growth. It's good to see a more mature pocket of the manosphere. Thank you. I think our biology is always going to be there because every organism's basic impulse is to survive, and survive means to reproduce. So I've always said in this environment, because it's very, very risky for men, the best thing you can do is, as you've mentioned, is tame your biology in a way that you're always conscious of the people you're meeting and interacting with, and you're trying to get to trust. Remember, once you get to trust someone, then it's easy. You don't have to be so conscious. You can kind of, you don't have to be suspicious all the time, or, really focused. Are they going to screw me over? I mentioned before, if you're going to pick a female, make sure she proves herself over years. But certainly, taming your biology in terms of thinking, philosophy, really solidifying your own morals and ethics and boundaries, and having it really as a righteous thing that you're always bringing forward and you're conscious of in terms of your own self. I mean, a few of you guys, including me, we really thought highly of Patrice O'Neill, what he talked about. And his character was always a really strong moral ethic. He knew where he stood on his own values. Doesn't matter how hot the woman was. Doesn't matter if it was an executive trying to screw him over on a bad business deal. He kind of had a good sense of, hang on a minute, what about me? What about what I want? No, that's not fair. In terms of that, taming yourself in that way, I think it's healthy to always calibrate yourself from a first-person point of view. Fawn Moon, I'm a woman and I hate shopping. I see men shopping more than I do women. Thoughts? Yeah, today's men have been sort of, I wouldn't say feminized in the way, but basically men are downstream from women. Men will always do whatever women want to get women. So back in the 90s, it was like, be a sensitive new age guy. We had TV shows where you had gay men trying to do a makeover on straight men that couldn't get a date. So basically men will do whatever they need to do to get women to say yes to them. And so today, because women are running the show so much, and anything male is seen as kind of laughable and invisible, men are kind of going, okay, well, I've got to look better. I've got to dress better. I care more about my appearance now than my fathers and my grandfathers, because that's the only thing that gets women's attention. So basically men are becoming more and more like women because women are becoming more and more narcissistic. So women are more like, everything's about me now. I don't care about men. I don't care about children. I don't care about society. Everything's about my world. And so a man's just doing everything that can reflect what a woman is, because that's the only way she'll notice. Because women today notice almost nothing except what a female is. But yeah, a lot of men are acting more and more like women today, because it's the only thing women respond to. which is stupid because none of those relationships last. Just like a lot of female friendships don't last. Women like each other initially, but for the long term doesn't last. So as a guy trying to sort of mimic the interests of women, shopping and things like that, okay, let's go down these questions. Jose, thank you for the super chat. Always been more attracted to shy girls than confident ones. Yeah, me too. Your point of view hit me. Man, what I really like is the genuineness and at least the illusion to date women instead of... Oh, thank you. It wasn't a question, but a comment. Yeah. Yeah, I've always been that way. The more and more I get older, I think that I'm very conscious of it, Jose. When he said what I really like, or what I really like is the genuineness of the female, the shy women, or at least the illusion that I date a genuine woman instead of a fake persona. Yeah, I think shy women kind of disarm men where they think, oh, it's kind of not, it's not this fake show, it's not the Botox lips, it's not the platinum blonde, the Hollywood Kim Kardashian kind of look. It's a normal girl next door. It's kind of, it's a bit more real. I can trust it a bit more. Not always the case though. Luck 4 Years Institute. Relationship bows down to 2 words. Mutual reward. Yep. Alonzo says, I had to ask my ex to kiss me goodbye in the morning before going to work. Pathetic. Yeah, when you have to ask for the person to actually... Yeah. Make your questions stand out, guys. Here's another comment from someone regarding why women get bored easily but still want commitment. From real names not given again. Great comment. He said, I see commitment with women as a commitment to a river. Are you committed to the body of water itself as a woman as a whole, or just one speck of water flowing past you, one woman coming and going? That's a good analogy in terms of seeing women as something that's always moving. Then the Walt is pretty much finding a still pond or a lake. Most women are rivers. A good way of looking at things. Schwench says, which of your videos are you most proud of? Keep up the good work, thanks. Not sure. It's not really the ones that have gotten the most hits. Like, I'm not... My favorite video isn't the one that's got the highest hits. For different reasons. I suppose at a certain pocket of time when something was really important to me and I got a video done in a way that I could get the idea out, and I got to a certain bit of truth that helped me work things out for myself, that was important. But actually, let me have a look. There was one recently that I thought... Yeah, I thought the most recent one that I thought I did a good job in terms of an insight that I had was that women don't act. They're just women don't change. They're just tired of acting. I thought that way of looking at things, I was pretty happy with that one. Would you, Edson, would you agree that women are children? No. I'd agree that most women act like children, though. And that's the reason I say keep your eyes open and be consciously relating with the person in front of you. If they start acting like a child, then they're acting like a child. But sometimes if you kind of sort of place people in these archetypes, you don't see the individual. So if you're going out saying, all women are children, so I'm going to treat them all like children, and if you want to date children, I mean, what does it say about you? Aren't you going to find a specific individual? If that individual acts like a child, fine. You don't date them. You don't associate with them. But generally today, women are acting petulantly like children. Yeah, a lot of them do. Most of them do. And the media encourages them to. But are children? I think we need to be careful of the words we use. Not that we're offending women. I mean, I don't give a about that. For me, it's about how it trains us to think and how it hamstrings us into becoming more childlike in, not mature enough in our language and thinking of how we relate to people for our own benefit, not for theirs, but for ourselves. Travis says, I'm a recruiter human and I definitely would be looking at longevity in a job in a positive light. Usually means they're reliable and stable. Yeah, you'd hope so. But I've talked to very many I've talked to more people involved in the recruitment field that see quick progression as a positive attribute, and companies are looking for it more than someone who's, I've worked here for 6 years, I've worked here for 10 years. It's like, oh, well, this person's just going to be sort of a rock. And I want someone who's a go-getter, who gives 110% because they're always climbing a ladder. I want a ladder climber. I don't want someone who's going to sit like a rock in one position. But it's good that you're like that. I wish more recruiters were like that. I wish more of society was like that. Used to be more like that, but the way we're structured today in our world is frequency and monkey branching. Everyone's monkey branching. Our mentality, they're gearing everyone to monkey branch in every aspect of their life. Don't sit still, move forward. Keep moving like a shark. Minx, I would say that I think people are just challenging what you're saying because you're using passive-aggressive words. Like just in this one, you're saying, I'm being punished in this thread right now in life and being open with others. Seems like people dislike it or are afraid. You're using words like are afraid. You see, people don't know like to love, don't know how to love, sad. Like you're being shameful to people. Men in the manosphere know what shame looks like, even if you don't realize you're doing it. Structure your words and the way you want to discuss a bit better, so you're not being passive aggressive too. There's a way to ask questions or have a conversation. Syl says, women live, quote, in the moment, and you can't base society on a foundation that flimsy. Yeah. My last video, women, I get bored easily. I need entertainment. I need to be challenged. Why am I going to commit long-term to anything like that? When you look at it, you want someone you can count on. They're always going to be there in the same way as you left them last week or last year. I can count on them being the same kind of rock. Yeah, they've got their own personality, they've got their own interests, but who they are in relation to you, in relation to the structure of the world and their morals, if they're always shifting, it's like whoever you fell for yesterday, you don't know if they're going to be the same person next week. Yet they want you to commit and have children, and they think that life is just going to work out by forever moving like a stream. How can you, as a sensible person, like the kind of mind that would make a good father, if your son or your daughter was dating a guy who was always moving and doesn't have a job, he moves from one place to another, he's always leaving one job and going to another one, would you allow your daughter or your son to be with friends or a partner like that? No. So don't be like that yourself. I mean, give yourself the advice you'd give as a father or a parent, or give yourself the advice. It's just so sensible. But people like to be lazy and say, just go with the flow, man. I live in the moment. I don't know what I want. I don't have any values or morals. But why can't I find a committed relationship? Why should someone commit to someone else who's like gas, who just dissipates and moves around? You want someone stable, but you don't want to be stable. Oh, how convenient and lazy for you. A lot of people ask for more than they're willing to give, much more. Especially some of these women who get bored easily, need surprises, yet I want the guy to be stable. I want him to be secure. He can't show any vulnerability. He can't cry. But I'm allowed to be a child and emote and cry and change my mind, leave my job. I don't know what I want to do, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you're going to be the mother to my children? No, sorry. We've been going for an hour and a half, people. So throw me your last questions and let's wrap it up. Tamas, I feel like stuck in red pill rage. Can you give some direction how to get over it? Yes, don't watch angry channels for one, because it's very easy. It's like watching your favorite porn. If you know you don't like yourself afterwards, especially, because during it you're on a high, but after you've kind of blown your emotional load and you're left, away from the screen, sleeping at night, does it make you feel good? Are you having a good life? It's tempting. It's like porn, watching material that can feed that side of you. But if you're tired of being stuck in red pill rage, the people you surround yourself with, the conversations you have, the books you read, the channels you watch, the routines you have healthier routines, whether it's exercise, what you do, change things that you can see that are contributing to the rage. Cut them off, change them, minimize them. Because I don't know your specific case. I think that as general advice tends to be good. Over the long term, it gets better. You have less consecutive days that are always negative or angry or rageful or depressive. Yeah, let's just remember, like I always say, don't get angry at women, don't blame women for anything, because women are women, men are men, governments are governments. You can only control yourself. So most women tend to act similarly. Just look at how women act in the schoolyard. You look at how many women will say, look, I don't have many female friends because, women compared to men. Men don't have a problem with having male friends. There's very few men that are kind of, because they're men, they don't want to be around them. It's because of a particular personality. But there's more women that will say, I don't like the way women are. That's why I have more male friends. So there's a general consensus of what women typically are at base nature. And so for a woman to get what she wants, it's up to her to consciously be a better person. What I'm trying to get men to do as well is to think consciously about themselves so they can be better guys in relation to having these type of women out there who get everything handed to them by the government and the media, and everything tells them they can never do any wrong, and you can have as many kids as a single mum as you want, and love's all that matters, and they don't need a father in their life, and men are to blame for everything, and It's just... Healthy quadrant. Everyone is angry partially due to the recognition that our senses betrayed us. Thus, we are half angry at others and half angry at ourselves. That's a good point too. A lot of guys who are really annoyed, especially I see some of the guys getting annoyed at things I might say in terms of like, self-responsibility. It's like, oh, well, you're not really a MGTOW or you're blaming men. It's like, no, part of that, I think, because I recognize in the past I was angry at me. And so all of my anger would be directed at the people who hurt me, whether it was exes or whatever. It's when you start saying everything's my fault from now on, that's when life gets better. Everything's your fault from now on. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously there's going to be things that aren't your fault. But if you take that stance, then there's going to be more things that go right because you're in control, or in more control than you were yesterday. How's that? Yeah, anger can be constructive for men if it's done the right way. Red Baboon, do you use the Socratic method to guide your views? A lot of times, yes, and particularly as I mentioned with guys who date, use the Socratic method when you're on a date with a woman, because the impulse is for you to keep talking, but you'll notice a woman is sometimes using Socratic method with you. She'll be asking you questions. For those of you who don't know, the Socratic method is basically having a conversation by asking questions first, not approaching it like you know everything. So yeah, you're always the student. You can always be wrong, and then you can learn more from that point of view. So I do use the Socratic method quite a bit. The moment you think you know everything is sometimes when you can actually trip up, and that's when you can really have a big trauma, because you're so full of yourself that you think, what's wrong with me? I knew all this red pill stuff, and she blindsided me, or this person did, or what, you thought you were smarter than this, and you knew you were. Healthy quadrant. Could red pill rage be a process of tearing out a part of the self, the part that betrayed us? Yes. Possibly. Okay, I'm just going to go through the last questions, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. Edison, based on female nature, would you see that most women are naturally inclined to be childlike? Have you? Yes, I do. The more neotenous they can portray themselves, it works. And I don't think it's necessarily always like a conscious tactic. They just kind of, their biology reflexes towards it because it works. Have you met women that are actually mature, responsible, accountable, focused, realistic? Yeah, I have. But it's up to you to kind of approach them that way. If you approach them encouraging their neoteny, like I mentioned, one of my good friends, his current fiance, she's like a little child, and he encourages it, but he loves it. And I keep telling him, man, you keep encouraging that in her. But he loves a relationship with the little girl. And he loves the neoteny, and she plays it up. I hope it doesn't bite him in the ass later on. And I think the more mature you have as a relationship, you can actually, I know for me, I can trust that more, rather than the act of me being macho, a manly man, and her being a little defenseless little girl. Might work in the bedroom, it doesn't work anywhere else. Is that a metaphor or a topic for a video? Does the kind of the fetish aspect of people's sex lives or the bedroom, they try and extend that to real life, the way they are out in public with each other, holding hands, people relating to each other as fetishes, not as actual people. question by Schwench. I can never pronounce that. What are your thoughts on the current state of the manosphere and its trajectory? What do you think the focus should be? No idea. Don't care. In not being cruel, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't think it should be anything. I think guys should cooperate a bit more and talk more maturely. Right now, there's a lot of game in it. It's not very focused on men. It's focused on women. I think by the way it's going, it's just going more towards game and a lot of male posturing rather than coming to terms with a lot of stuff so that moving forward, you don't make the same mistakes again. And moving forward, you become a better person. You have a more open, horizontal, richer life. Thanks, Leon, for the super chat. Donna, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Ladies, also look up Aaron Clare on YouTube, and I will be starting my own similar channel soon. Ah, it's an advertisement. Darko, question, how to deal with codependent women? Most relationships are codependent, aren't they? It's being conscious about your own weak spots and how much you do reflex to sort of codependency to a woman, what you do need, what you find attractive. And sometimes you go, no, it's a little bit of a weakness, but if I'm conscious about it and I don't let it get too far and I have boundaries, you could get away with it. But again, if you recognize, if you have a relationship with a codependent person, if they don't take advantage of you, if you get along with them, I'd say like it's less of a problem. If the relationship in that codependency is okay, because again, all the relationships to one degree or another are codependent, I think. Trans or human, do you think that girls have a built-in ability to take everything they see? Is that a Phil Collins quote? Darko, question, how do you vet for codependent? Oh, okay, that was your previous question. You just repeated it again. Just the name, hey, I need help. I have a friend who's broken up and he's going into a downward spiral that he's fallen for, failing as a man. He doesn't have a house, nice car, etc. All that BS. How do I teach him female nature urgently? Be there as a friend, talk to him, spend time with him. Most guys in that sphere, human communication with friends is the best thing that can happen to them. You can feed them, you can show them videos that you might think helps, but it's again him on his own dealing with it. Nothing's better than a good friend, a person to talk to. Danzer, dating anyone now? If that's a question to me, no. Bob says, is marriage a path to avoid today? I would say much more than yesteryear, only because of the risks. But it's up to everybody, I suppose, what they want to do. You can't avoid what you really want. You can't pretend to live another life that's not yours. If you're a guy who really wants a family and children, you can live another life, but, you know, are you going to be miserable for the rest of your life? Again, I'm not saying you should get married, but don't negate what you really want. Okay, guys, let me see. Are there any more questions? I think that's it. and we'll call it a day. Thanks everyone for dropping in. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the super chats. You guys are great. Oh, Boffin. I'm just scrolling up. Can fat girls go skinny dipping? Can fat girls go skinny dipping? Is that sort of an antiquated notion where people knew themselves in the limits of social acceptability, that only skinny people went skinny dipping? All right, guys. Thank you very much for all the questions. Hope you had a good time. I did. And yeah, remember, hit the like button, subscribe, help the channel be seen, share it around on your social media and all that kind of stuff. I'll talk to you very soon. Later.